Oh my gosh, y'all, we got to see a trailer of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 in today's Nintendo Direct, and I am blown away. I want to talk all about it, but not only that trailer, I got some inside information. I got the inside scoop from Square Enix themselves, going over even more information than the trailer, and I also want to share all of that with you to go over everything that we know about like my most anticipated game of the entire year. And I definitely do think that's worth a sub as you come on board and level on up with me. Be sure to leave that sub and a like. It helps me out a ton. Thank you all so much. So this game's coming out worldwide on October the 30th for the Switch 2, the PS5, the Xbox, and the PC, and it's coming out as like a simultaneous release, which is really freaking cool, I gotta say. And if you haven't already played Dragon Quest 3 that came out last year, you probably should, because there's going to be some additions to the end game of Dragon Quest 2 if it has a save from Dragon Quest 3. So you really need to do and go ahead and beat Dragon Quest 3 before you play these games. That's the way that the developers want you to play this game nowadays. It originally came out, 1, 2, 3, but the chronological order is 3, 1, 2. So if you play it in the order of release, you should be fine. This is really exciting. Let's first talk about the new additions to Dragon Quest 1. First of all, as you heard in the trailer, there is new voice acting, which is really freaking nice. But in addition to that, there are fairies and dwarves that are also in Dragon Quest 1 that weren't, obviously, in the original. Here we have the hero talking to Daydreamer, and I'm going to have to squint because I'm old. I'm 43 years old. I've played these games back when I was 7 years old on the NES, and here I am playing them again, and reading this is hard for me. I have old eyes. It says, there are dwarves living to the east of here that she's had dealings with in the past, you see. We thought that they might know something. So yeah, they're talking to some fairies right there, some treasures behind those fairies as well. Then we can see a picture of a gargoyle that the hero is fighting. Gargoyles did not appear in the original Dragon Quest 1. They were a Dragon Quest 2 enemy. And also in the trailer, you saw the little tree enemies and also the little goopy enemies. Those also didn't appear in the first game. Those are Dragon Quest 2 enemies. But like I said, because I got to play these games months ago, I got to play both of these games. And I told you my experiences with them there, and I told you, hey, there's going to be monsters that, didn't appear in the first game that are now appearing in the first game, and so on and so forth. All the monsters have kind of been shuffled around so that they're all appearing together to really tie them in to a trilogy. Also, in Dragon Quest 1, Kandar appears. He is originally from Dragon Quest 3, and if you know at the end of the game, he kind of gets dropped off into the Dark World, which is the world of Dragon Quest 1, and now he is in Dragon Quest 1 as well. So that's pretty freaking neat, I've gotta say. It says here, as far as the interesting things about Dragon Warrior 1, there isn't that much, but it does say that Princess Gwaelin is the only daughter of the King of Tankatel, and she possesses the power to hear the voice of Rubis. She is bright, friendly, and beloved by her people, but several months ago she was kidnapped by the Dragon Lord and has been missing ever since. And then there's two pictures, and gosh, I gotta squint. This is the Dragon Lord talking to the princess, and it says, "Thou bearest the sphere of light, dost thou not, Princess Gwaelin of Tankatel?" And then the princess again is talking and saying, "Almighty Rubis, I assume, grant unto me strength in this time of need until each time as the prophesized will appear." It's small, but I'm doing my best right here. So now let's move on to Dragon Quest 2, because Dragon Quest 2 is much more interesting than Dragon Quest 1 with all the new additions. We have confirmation that the girl is the Princess of Cannock, and her name is Matilda. We actually have confirmation on all the names of all the characters. Gawain for the Prince of Midenhall, Caradoc for the Prince of Cannock, Perenelle for the Princess of Moonbrook, and Matilda for the Princess of Cannock. And if you saw in the trailer, this is fascinating to me. I thought that the Princess of Cannock would be like a post-game character, or like a really late end-game character, something not to screw up the balance of the game. But no! She joins much earlier. You know how I know that? Because she is in the scene when they're opening up the water gate at Toon. and you can conceivably get to Toon right after getting the ship. Right after you leave Leonport, you can, ride around on your ship and then walk over to Toon if you want to. You're probably not going to because the monsters will kick your ass, but you can if you want to. So it is very, very, very interesting. It looks to me like there's some progression, some changes that have happened. Maybe the game isn't 100% totally open world after getting the boat like it used to be in the NES and SNES version, the Game Boy Color version, and all that. But now maybe there's some linearity in there insofar as getting the Princess of Cannock. Another thing that I did want to bring up, let's look at her little bio. It says, the Princess of Cannock. She's a hard worker who loves her brother and has a free-spirited and slightly mischievous side. I'm too excited to talk. In battle, she uses her attacks and spells skillfully and uses her swiftness to gain an upper hand. So something tells me she's going to be like a thief type character. She is holding a sword or like a rapier, so she's not using claws. I was thinking maybe she's going to be like a Deborah sort of character from Dragon Quest V who came in the DS remake, and then she like completely hosed the other two wives because she was just ridiculously powerful. I hope that they balance her properly and that she's not just like obscenely powerful like Deborah was or like the Monster Wrangler job class was in Dragon Quest III. Please balance her properly. I don't want to have Prince of Cannock be a casket and Princess of Cannock running around girl boss. You know what I mean? Like, I want them to be balanced. I want all four of them to be equal, So let's look at this picture. It says, well, what do you think about traveling togs? I sewed them myself, Then it's decided I will accompany you on your hunt for my darling brother. So again, going along with storyline changes, something tells me that for whatever reason, the Prince of Cannock goes missing and we have to go and find him, and that is whenever Matilda comes ahead and joins. So what I'm thinking is that the game is going to press you into certain areas, and one area that it might press you to go to before getting to Toon would be Baran. Not in the Nintendo version, but in the SNES version and beyond, they added in an extra cutscene there where he gets sick in the inn, and you have to go get the Leaf of the World tree, and you have to heal him there. So maybe they will take that event and they'll do something with that. Maybe he won't get sick, maybe he'll go missing or something like that, you know what I'm saying? And then you have to go and you have to get her in order to rescue him. So we don't really know what is going on there, but it's very, very, very exciting just to think about all that kind of stuff right there. So much to talk about here, so much to look forward to. I am stoked about this game. This one and Final Fantasy Tactics, they are like my top two must-have games for the rest of the year. They are just, I cannot wait. But now I want to hear from y'all. What do you think about this news? What do you think about the Princess of Cannock? What kind of abilities do you think she's going to have? I think that she's going to be kind of a Deborah sort of character. I do think they're probably going to make her overpowered, which is unfortunate. I hope that they don't, but they probably will. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments, and as always, have a good day.